Well, guess what?
Back again.
It's back
Back again.
again.
And we're back. And we're back.
They're back again.
Back again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Back Again Sequel Podcast, the only podcast that takes a sequel from the past and finds out if it's still worth going back again. As always, I'm Matt.
I'm Drew.
And today we are continuing on our spooky season sequels by doing the follow-up to the 1997 I Know What You Did Last Summer, and we are doing I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
After what happened last summer,
We are going to the Bahamas.
nobody deserves a vacation more than Julie James.
We have arrived in paradise.
And here, miles from civilization,
To a great weekend.
she's finally gotten away from it all.
I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made Julie the key. If I'd have known for just 1 second, you'd be back to bother me. Don't know the lyrics. Hold on. You did something to the screen. I said, what are you talking about?
But she can never escape her past.
I Still Know What You Did Last Summer came out in 1998. It's written by Lois Duncan and Trey Calloway. It's directed by Danny Cannon. It's starring Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., Brandy, Mekhi Phifer, Matthew Settle, Muse Watson, and Jackety Black. It's been 2 summers since a group of friends killed a man during a drunk driving accident. It's been 1 summer since finding out that that man not only survived, but that he was a murderer who is now back to kill them, until 2 of the remaining friends get into a fight with that man on his boat, which leads to him falling in the ocean. Now, in present day, Julie, the friend who loves yelling at the sky, is gonna find out what happens when a man you thought was dead twice comes back again to kill old friends and new, all because nobody knew the capital of Brazil.
Brasilia.
All right, so here's where I want to start. What's interesting about this sequel, and I don't think we've ever seen something like this before. The reveal of the movie is usually something that's related to the plot, but in this movie, the reveal is the character's motivation. And when I say that, I mean that the front half of this movie is Julie being super paranoid that the fisherman is back and that he's going to kill her. But we don't understand why Julie is paranoid because we watched the last movie and we saw that he gets his hand cut off and then he goes into the ocean. After an hour into this movie, she reveals to her friends on that dock in the rain,
Ben Willis is dead. You killed him, remember? They never found the body.
which I thought was a really weird way to reveal the character's motivation for still being paranoid. Because up until she says that, like, we as the audience don't know that they never found the body. She never says it to Ray earlier in the scene. She's just going about her life still paranoid that he's out there. She thinks that she's seeing him in real life. She's still having nightmares about him, but she decides to save that information and tell her friends and the audience that they never found the body until an hour into the movie.
That's interesting. I assumed everyone knew that. I assumed it was common knowledge. I don't know why. I think it's because I watch movies and it's just like, okay, but that is a very good point, because now it's like, were the filmmakers trying to convince us that this wasn't just Ben the whole time and it might have been a copycat or something else?
Well, there's 2 parts to this. One, I think they were trying to basically have their cake and eat it by making Julie look crazy in the front half of this movie, but then also getting away with, like, no, he's actually back. But it's not until on that dock, after she tells everybody the events of the first movie and that they never found the body, that Brandy even says, because they all knew about Ben Willis and that she was involved in this to some extent. But even Brandy says to her, she's like, how come you didn't tell me that they never found the body?
That is one thing that I blipped over. I forgot that it was news to Brandy and I guess everyone that they had not found the body. That is bananas.
I think what's weird about it is that usually you would start the movie by her saying, like, to Ray, for example, when they have that scene where he comes to get her from college, she could have said right then and there in that scene, well, I'm scared to go back because what if he's here still? They never found the body. And then Ray like reassures her, like, they never found the body because the ocean's huge and because he got eaten by a shark or something. Like, but they decide to save it until an hour so that way we can have all this like, well, is she going crazy or is it real? But we know from the get-go that he's coming back.
And it's crazy that she never tries to like rationalize that to someone. And it's like, no, bitch, the reason I'm terrified is because he might still be out there. And this whole time, we're kind of left to assume that no, this is all in the past. They found the body, they fingerprinted, ID'd him and everything, and it's all buried in the past. And it's not, but she does never tell anyone that. So she is probably an insane character because she does not register that she needs to reassure people about this. She does not tell anyone about this. That is crazy.
Well, it's interesting too, because like in the first one, she has kind of like a similar thing, but she's more, aggressive in the first one with the fact that when she gets the note of, I know what you did last summer, and she goes to her friends, they're kind of dismissive of her, which is like, it's someone just trying to mess with us, or it's that one kid that we know, blah, blah, blah. But she holds on to her convictions and is like, no, like he might actually, the person we thought was dead might actually be back, So it's weird that in this one, they just decided to completely forget about how she would behave like she did in the first one.
I think because here's the thing is Ben is not, I think the villain's name is Ben. He is not a good villain. He was okay in the first one when the whole plot revolved around a mystery. Now that we're coming back for a sequel, they need to do one of two things. They just need to say like, oh, he's back and, he's vengeful, or there is something more dangerous about him. And I think what they're trying to do in that first half is make it almost like where he's getting to her psychologically in her dreams, like Freddy Krueger would. But then when you reveal that she knew the whole time he was probably still physically out there, it's all rationalized, even though she doesn't express it to anyone. So I think they're really trying to make him seem like more of a threat and more ethereal, just by having her decide to withhold this information from the audience and the characters, which is very, very contrived. I'm not going to say it's lazy, but it's like, you got to do some mental gymnastics for that shit.
And yeah, and like I said, they're trying to have their cake and eat it because some of the stuff that she's seeing is in her mind, and then some of the stuff isn't in her mind. And I had a hard time deciphering what stuff was in her mind and not in her mind. Because at the end of the first movie, obviously, there is that kind of like tag scene where she's like about to take a shower in a locker room, and we see the message of I still know, and then he bursts through the glass. But then we reveal at the beginning of this movie that this is one of many dreams that she's been having.
Which I thought that was goofy. Other movies have done that without retconning it into a dream. I'm just saying.
Sure, but even with this movie, it opens up with a dream, right? She's in like a church and she's giving a confession. And right off the bat, as soon as she was in that confession and she goes like, I killed a man last summer, I immediately said out loud, I was like, you didn't kill anyone.
Yeah.
I killed a man.
It's false. No way. Not this time.
And she knows this. She knows that the body was never found. So it's like in the first movie, they think they killed someone on accident. They feel guilty. Then they almost kill him when they find out that he's actually a villain, but they don't. She has never killed anyone. She is the most guiltless character in the movie.
And what's even more frustrating, because like that scene that I was talking about, the first scene with her and Ray where he's coming to pick her up, and she's not mentioning that they never found the body. She does have the audacity to say to Ray to try to comfort him.
Okay, it is not you. It's all me in my head.
So she even admits at the top of the movie that a lot of this stuff, whether it's the dreams or the visions that she's seeing, is all in her head. But then it's not until later where she goes, well, they never found the body. And it's like, it's just back and forth.
Oops, my paranoia was justified. Sorry I didn't let you know earlier.
Yeah. Because the thing, just to stay with that, like what's real and what's in her head, the moment that I can't decipher truly if this is real or in her head is when she is at the Bahamas, she is singing karaoke, and on the karaoke machine, instead of the lyrics popping up, what pops up is the message, I still know what you did last summer. But then when she freaks out and all the friends look at the karaoke machine, the lyrics are gone. And it's like, on one hand, okay, if that's in her head, that makes sense. On another hand, if that was real, that should be in the movie because that's amazing. That the fisherman, with his one hand, mind you, was able to type in the lyrics.
Again, it's like you said a couple times. They're trying to have their cake and eat it. They keep trying to present the internal conflict that Julie's going through, and it directly contrasts the external conflict that she's going through with Ben Willis.
And it's weird because I don't think you need that internal struggle.
No, you need one. Pick one and stay in your lane. You don't need both. It gets confusing and contradictory.
Yeah, but there's a simplicity to the first one with just thinking that something went one way and then the plot twist of, oh no, the guy's still alive. And you could have just did that again if you revealed at the beginning of the movie that she's like, hey, they never found the body. And then when she gets a note, it's like, okay, he's alive. And then the twist can be that he has a son.
Ben's son!
There you go, yeah.
But the execution of it is so wonky. And, you know, just to talk about the first one for a minute, I do think that there is like a charm and a simplicity in the first one. It's not necessarily like a good movie, but I also don't think it's a bad movie. And I think that there's something kind of nice about the fact that this just comes down to like, you can't bury your secrets and they're going to come, you know, they're going to come up to the surface. And besides all like the plot stuff, you know, the theme of just like guilt and having your whole life like ahead of you, and one thing can ruin that, and getting to see these like 4 characters a year later where they're all like worse off after the events of this and they're not able to move past it. And then they're vindicated when you find out like, oh, well, he was also a murderer. So not only did we not kill him, but if we happened to kill him, well, it was okay because he was a murderer as well.
But it's fine because we didn't kill him. He's still alive.
But at the end of the day, it's like, especially for a horror movie, you know, you have your plot and you have your theme. And I just think with that first, I Know What You Did Last Summer, that they executed to the best of their ability. And I think that it's actually more entertaining this kind of second watch around. Like I like that first one. And then in the second one, just you could have just did it again. Why did you do this weird, wonky execution?
The biggest thing that stood out to me about this movie was, especially with like all the sequels we've seen, I don't think we've ever seen a sequel that really felt like a bottle episode, where it's like, let's put them somewhere and isolate them. And it's bananas how they get to the Bahamas. So the whole idea is that, yeah, I'm Ben. All right, I'm Ben, the evil guy from the first one. I'm going to plan my revenge. I'm going to isolate them in the Bahamas at the beginning of storm season when I know that there's not going to be anyone else around. And then I'm going to stalk and murder them along with the resort staff that are going to be there for no reason. When he killed the hotel maid, I was like, what? And on top of that, I'm curious, because I think I missed it. Does he have any connection to the Bahamas?
Yeah, so he used to work at the hotel. We get an exposition dump with Bill Cobb's character, who plays Estes, who is the voodoo guy. There's voodoo in this movie.
But I think it's a misdirect, right? It's not real voodoo.
No, it's real voodoo because he was trying to protect the kids once he found out the reason why they were here. Because when they show up at the Bahamas, they tell him like, oh, we got a free trip because we knew the capital of Brazil, which is Rio. And he's like, that's not the capital. So I knew something was wrong. So I decided to steal an item from each one of your rooms and do a voodoo thing to protect you, because he mentions that Ben Willis used to work at this hotel. And not only that, he's kind of noticed him on the grounds recently, just like hanging out.
He used to work here at the hotel. Lately, I've seen him out in the woods by the orchard.
And the thing is like, he gives this weird backstory about Ben Willis also, which is that Ben Willis like murdered his wife and like cut up her body and stuff. And there's like a throwaway line where somebody's like, people say this and people say that. And then like Bill Cobb says,
people say she was cheating on him. People say he would beat her. People say a lot of things. He disappeared. Children too. Now he's back.
It's like, what? What are you talking about?
I remember that because the whole idea was that didn't he dismember his wife supposedly in the honeymoon suite that they were staying in? Okay.
But that kind of feeds into what you were just saying, where they're trying to make Ben Willis like, you know, like larger than life now in the sequel because he's just a killer now.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, he's killing the staff. He's killing Jack Black. What did Jack Black do?
Oh! And believe me, it is all good.
But anyway, yeah. So since we're not going to be in this small fisherman town anymore in this first one, we do have to find a place to have our victims where we're going to kill them, and we're going to do this Bahamas trip thing. And it's just so funny that the crux of getting the kids there is hoping that they just don't know the capital of Brazil.
Yeah.
It's not even like Brandy finds out that there is like a ticket giveaway to the Bahamas, so she's going to call into the radio station. This is the radio station calls her.
I mean, there's also like, you could have just done Will, Ben's son.
Ben's son!
You could have just had Will. He has a job at the radio station. That didn't need to be a secret. So you could have just had him be the radio DJ. He's like, hey, we're friends. I've got the lowdown on tickets to the Bahamas. We don't need to do trivia or anything. We can just have them. Like, you don't need to be this convoluted.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because like, you know, it's hard to watch a movie like this and like suspend your disbelief. Like, I knew that Will was going to be the killer, like, so early on.
Really?
Like, it was when they were at like the nightclub where hold on, before we get to the nightclub, there's a scene during the night. She wakes up because she thinks she hears a noise. She grabs a knife. She's searching around the apartment, and it leads her to her closet, where Brandy is in the closet, like getting an outfit, right? And she's like holding Brandy at knife point, like just like yelling and screaming, like, oh my God. And she's like, get that knife out of my face. And then there's just such a quick flip to like, you're coming out tonight.
Jesus, Carla, that was like heart attack time.
Can I have the knife now, please? Julie?
I really think you should come out with me tonight. Really. Well, I don't think so. I just tried to stab you with a knife. Carla, I hardly feel like dancing.
And I think Jennifer Love Hewitt says, like, I almost attacked you with a knife. I'm not going anywhere. And Brandy's like, no, that's even more reason for you to go out in public.
So they go to the nightclub. That's where we get to meet Mekhi Phifer's character, and we get to see, once again, Will Benson. But when Julie is at the club and she thinks that she's seeing the fisherman up, like I don't know, on like the next level, and then she turns around for that jump scare and Will's there with the drinks, I was like, he's the killer. And it's also indicative of the time, because this is right around the time when, like, you know, Scream had already come out, and now Scream 2 is coming out, and we're doing this formula where we're going to introduce new characters, and then we're going to be like, who done it. In this movie, we have 3 new characters. It ain't going to be Brandy and Mekhi Phifer. I'll just tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So it's got to be this other boring white dude that's not Ray. And to go back to even what you were saying about how this is like a bottle episode of something, it really does feel like a sitcom formula, because we're going to have the A story with the 4 friends, and then poor old Ray, he's going to get this B story where Ray is just going to be isolated from the entire cast the whole movie, and he's got to get back to the island. You know,
we got to fill time. That part of the movie kills the pacing. It could have been cut. Or what you should have done is just integrate Ray more directly into the plot.
Well, it just doesn't make sense, because if he also wants to kill Ray, why does he decide that he's the one that's not going to go to the Bahamas with them, right? Like part of Ben Willis's plan, in a sense, I guess, is to get Will Benson.
Ben's son!
To take the spot of Ray as the 4th member to the Bahamas trip, because Ben interferes with Ray on his way to go meet up with Julie and the other 2 to go to the Bahamas. But if you just let Ray go to the Bahamas, you can kill him like everybody else. You don't even need Will.
He wanted to isolate them to make them easier to hunt.
There's only 2 left.
Well, that's the thing. This is all Ben does. When he kills them both, he's not going to, like, that's done. That's it. He's going to retire. So he wants to kind of, you know, stretch it out. I think that's why he intentionally leaves Ray alive.
Well, he's got places to be. I mean, after he tries to run over Ray, like, he's also got to get to the Bahamas before this storm starts happening, you know?
True, yeah.
And it's like he leaves him alive back on that island, knowing that a storm's coming, which is going to be very difficult for him to get to the island to save Julie potentially, which is why then he buys a gun and then, you know, sticks up the fisherman with a boat and then steals his boat. But one of my favorite scenes that I loved was after the initial confrontation with the fisherman and Ray passes out, he's in the hospital bed and there's like a cop and a doctor. They're disregarding whatever the statement Ray was able to make about someone tracking him down. down, and the cop's like, he's probably making this story up. If there's nothing else, I guess I'll leave for the day. And then when they go back to the room, Ray's just like gone. He's gone, and he's about to make his way back to the island.
And I don't think we ever see those cops again, right?
We never see those cops again, and we never get to see that proposal that he was gonna give like to Julie with like the ring and stuff. I mean, at the end of the movie, they just end up together in a house, and I think she has a ring on her finger. I don't remember, but I don't know. It's just such an interesting, like, I would have expected at the end of the movie when they're at the Bahamas and Ray has come to save the day, that's when he would like have proposed to her.
But he got to get the gun somehow.
No, and then the gun didn't even fire on the first shot
for no reason. Also, I meant to go back and check. I didn't, though. I'm pretty sure there's more than 6 bullets in that revolver.
There is. She fires the gun 8 times, and there's only 6 bullets.
Yeah.
8! Now let's stomp 8 times! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8!
What can you say?
It sure is a sequel. This is one of the most sequel movies we've ever seen.
It is, and I would say in general, like, once we actually got to like the killing on the island, I thought that the movie like picked up like tremendously, because the front half of the movie I thought was so like slow, but once we're actually there and we're like running around and we're getting to see all these like, you know, different spots on the island, like I thought all that was like decently entertaining for like a horror movie.
Yeah. Even if it was storm season, I felt like there had to be other people on the island aside from like the staff. Because when you have other partiers that are interfacing directly with the would-be victims, then these other partiers get in the way and the killer has to go through them to get to his real victims. The staff are not engaging, so it just feels... It feels like they were trying to save money by like having a relatively small cast that doesn't really interact with the main action. But at the same time, this is a huge studio movie. Why are you making that decision?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because the first 4 kills that the fisherman does, they all are people that like, they have nothing to do with the killer. Like, I would say like the death that is like the most wasted and means nothing is this bartender who is also stuck on the island working her bartending shift, who essentially disappears for like most of the movie, repops up again because she was hiding after like things start getting all spooky. And then there's like a moment where she falls over because like a dead Bill Cobbs like falls on top of her with like a poker inside of him. And then the fisherman walks up and then pushes down on the poker through her.
Yeah, and I remember that death specifically. That was such a lazy, like, just even as far as the character goes, it was such a lazy kill. Because he's not doing anything. He's just going out and killing people. He's not stalking or doing anything.
Who cares?
Well, now to switch it up a little bit and talk about scenes that we do like, or we know for a fact that the fans like, we get a repeat of the famous scene from the first one, where we have Julie getting upset outside and then sticking her hands in the air and yelling at the sky like, "What are you waiting for? Come and get me." But then in the second one, we know what's going to happen. We're just kind of like waiting for it. And because this movie is so obsessed with sexualizing the women in the movie, they're going to do it when everybody's just wet outside in the rain and she can just, you know, be all wet and yell at the sky again like, "You want me, Ben? Like, come and get me."
Do you hear me? If you want me, Ben, come and get me. I'm right here. But my grave stays empty.
That rain has a plot purpose. It's not just there to make them look sexy.
It has a plot purpose, but it is like, this movie is very like, we're going to showcase Jennifer Love Hewitt's body.
We were wet the entire time.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's not, they kind of like establish they're horny in the beginning of the first one, and then that kind of falls off. In this one, we have Tyrell who's horny, but like it's just everyone's just kind of getting objectified because we're in the Bahamas and it's raining all the time. So we're in wet swimsuits.
And poor Mekhi Phifer, man. He doesn't even get to like get laid before he gets killed. And I actually thought that he had one of the better deaths like in the movie, where he gets the hook through his throat. If Mekhi Phifer's death is my favorite in the movie, I would say that the one that is the silliest, not the worst death, but the silliest death has to be Jack Black's. And let's talk about Jack Black.
Yeah,
Damn.
First of all, I thought Jack Black was in this movie way too much.
he was. Yeah. Now, I will say he never wore out his welcome. That's one thing I do like about at least old Jack Black projects is he never.
This is not a Jack Black project.
Well, anything he's in, a performance. Old Jack Black performances. I don't think he ever outstays his welcome, but they did include way too much of him.
Yeah, and when he actually gets killed, it felt like a parody because
Yeah.
he gets like stabbed in the hand, and then the fisherman's taking his time to pick out the next weapon, and Jack Black's like,
What are you doing? No. Seriously, don't do that.
it just felt like he was just doing like a comedy bit, you know?
I wonder if Jack Black was taking it seriously. This was early in his career, so he probably was.
It's just so funny that, like, once again, like, Brandy is like the catalyst to like getting this all started off by her answering the phone. Interesting enough, I actually have a little segment here that I'm calling Brandy Questions. So I'm going to ask you some Brandy questions, Drew, and to the best of your ability, see if you can answer them.
Okay.
My first question is, after Brandy and the fisherman fall through the ceiling onto the bed, why does Brandy crawl back over the bed where the fisherman is to get away from the fisherman?
Her adrenaline's pumping and she's not thinking clearly. Next question.
After Brandy successfully runs away from the fisherman, and then she ends up on another roof where there is glass to a greenhouse, why does Brandy stand directly on the glass?
I laughed at this. Because she sees it begin to crack and she assumes that means it can hold her weight.
Okay. And then my final question is, how does Brandy survive? Because Brandy is chased by the fisherman. He tosses her through like a shelf or like a door or something like that. She passes out and then she just disappears from the movie until the end where she, like a comedy, like just comes out and it's like, hey, I'm also alive still. And she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were alive.
I couldn't tell you. If I had to try to defend his rationale, I can only assume that it was near the because the events were happening so near the climax, he had to get from where he was to the graveyard. He's finally built up to where he's going to kill Jennifer Love Hewitt, and now that he's had this whole year to plan, he's running late, so he can't finish killing Brandy before he has to hurry off to get Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Well, let's stick with rationale for a moment, and let's dive into the budget in the box office. So the first I Know What You Did Last Summer came out in 1997. It's got a budget of $17 million, and it's got a box office of $125.6 million. So that's a big old hit right there. And this sequel comes out only a year later.
That's actually crazy.
So now I Still Know What You Did Last Summer comes out in 1998. It's got a budget of $24 million. And it has a box office of $84 million.
More than I thought it would be.
Not as successful as the first one, but not a failure by any means. And just like we've seen a million times on this podcast, there's going to be some dips as we get into the Rotten Tomatoes scores. So the first I Know What You Did Last Summer has a critical score of a 46%, which I was actually pretty surprised by because I thought that was pretty low.
At the same time, this isn't really a critic movie, you know? It's not in the same way that like Scream is, where it's Wes Craven and it's a kind of a thoughtful parody. This is kind of more of like an homage.
Yeah, but then it's got an audience score of only a 41%.
That's surprising. I thought the audience score would be higher.
But then, boy, oh boy, when we get into the second one, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, the critical score for that is 10%. The audience score is a 29%.
Okay. No, that makes complete sense.
Have we ever seen anything as dumb as naming one of your villains, like making his name like the reveal of Ben's son?
Ben's son!
Hey, to be fair, I think Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets stole their idea from this when he does the Tom Marvolo riddle and it's I am Lord Voldemort. That's the exact same thing, except this movie did it first.
Chris Columbus was like, oh, I got a great idea. So as always on this podcast, we ask 3 questions that lead to a final vote of is it worth going back again? And the first question is, does it work as a sequel?
No. I think we've done nothing but talk about how this does not work as a sequel. I think ultimately it's a horror, it's a slasher. You have your villain. I think they completely misunderstand their villain. And the plot is so contrived that it does not hold up under scrutiny. I think I think the best thing I can say is they had a good setup with making Julie paranoid, but then they got confused with what they wanted to do, and it didn't ultimately pay off. So on a list of like 10 things they could have done, they probably did one right.
I also don't think that this works as a sequel for obvious reasons, but it was close. It was close to getting a check if it just like, you know, just maybe had that justification for Julie of why she's paranoid, like introduced earlier in the movie. And maybe if they got Freddie Prinze Jr. to the island sooner, like you can't have two of your characters from the first one not be in the movie together.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I feel like, knowing that they shot it in a year, they probably could not schedule time for the two leads together. That's why they were isolated the whole time.
Yeah, that would make sense, honestly. So that sounds like it's going to get a 2 quick X's. So the next question is going to be, is it enjoyable / entertaining? I'll start this one off, and I will say I think the second half is enjoyable / entertaining. The first half is just frustrating, and there's a lot of like awkward acting between Jennifer Love Hewitt and Brandy. So it's kind of like, for me, it's like a 50-50 split, because I also do think it's entertaining when you reveal that it's like Ben's son, you know? So it's not like the hardest movie to watch. You might have a different opinion, but I'm going to be more generous, and I'm going to say, I'm going to give it a check that it is enjoyable / entertaining, only because it's like so weird that it's interesting. And then there are moments that are so like bad that it's funny.
I'll agree. I'm more lenient on this one, but I think I'm still going to give it an X. It was close to being so bad it's good. And that's the thing, is like, I feel like a lot of so bad it's good movies don't really have like these kind of like logistical conflicts. Like Julie keeping the big hang up I have is Julie keeping the information that Ben is probably still alive, or they never found his body. Like, that's not something that would be in a so bad it's good movie. That's a weird mistake. And it's those, or not mistake, but it's a weird decision. And it's decisions like those that kind of keep it from being too entertaining for me. The Jack Black stuff doesn't work a lot of the time, but it still makes it a little bit more enjoyable. You know, even though it doesn't make any sense for him to go after the resort staff, at least the majority of the kills were creative. A couple were lazy. And it's really riding that line for me. But I think at the end of the day, I got to say no. I got to give it an X.
So that sounds like it's going to get a check and an X. So the last question is going to be, does it need to exist? I think we can just make this really quick. No, it doesn't need to exist.
Yeah, no. It's interesting that it does exist.
It's also interesting in this franchise that they end the movies on a non-realistic cliffhanger.
It's just like, we got to get out of the movie. So it's like, what do? He jumps out of the shadows again.
So if you're doing that math at home, that's going to be 5 X's and 1 check. So it's going to get 1 giant X for not worth going back again. Yeah, and you know what's weird about this is like they have returned to this as of 2025. We have the Legacy sequel that just came out. I think it's just I Know What You Did Last Summer. I think it's just the title again. And
it's a sequel or a reboot? It's a Legacy sequel. So it is a Legacy sequel that just has the exact same name.
I don't know what the plot is, but usually with a Legacy sequel is you're going to have a new events that take place, but they are so similar to the thing that we had seen prior that we need to bring those characters back to help with the new situation.
That's just Scream though, isn't it?
Scream has listen. Scream is doing all of these things right, and other movies are trying very hard to copy that. As always, everyone, thanks so much for listening. If you like this episode, you can listen to all episodes of the Back Against Sequel podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search Back Against Sequel podcasts. Or you can watch these episodes with video on YouTube. Just subscribe to @wag.productions. And outside of that, you got anything else to add, Drew?
I killed a man.
Shut the f***, Julie.
All right, everyone, we will see you next time.